Leonard sat on the edge of the bed, where Dana's absence felt more intrusive than her presence ever had. Her pillow was missing. Even the duvet was lopsided, like she'd yanked it in some final flourish before walking out. The room smelled like the stainless steel fridge hummed in the silence, a monotonous drone that filled the sterile air of the kitchen. Leonard Kesler sat at the marble island, fingers wrapped around a chipped ceramic mug, its contents long gone cold. The clock on the wall blinked 11:42 p.m. a Thursday. His wife was supposed to be on day 4 of her Palm Springs wellness trip, and yet there it was, the text. "I'm not coming back. I've met someone better and already moved your things to storage." Below it, a screenshot of a $118,000 wire transfer from their joint savings to her personal account. Efficient. Cold. Predictable. Leonard placed the phone face down on the counter with the same care he might show a fragile heirloom. For a moment, he sat completely still, just breathing. Then he reached for his laptop. It had been waiting. Dana never knew about this one. The brushed steel Lenovo tucked in the cabinet behind the cereal boxes she never touched. He flipped it open and logged in. Everything about the screen felt clinical, built not for browsing, but for action. The security system on his bank accounts blinked with alerts. 3 failed login attempts from an unknown IP. She was trying to cover her tracks. Amusing. It was almost admirable. For months, maybe longer, he'd watched the small shifts. Spa retreats that grew into week-long escapes, a sudden obsession with branding her yoga studio, a surgically curated Instagram full of cryptic quotes about growth and freedom. And her phone, always locked, always turned face down. She'd underestimated him, assumed he wasn't paying attention. But Leonard Kesler was a forensic accountant. Noticing things was what he did. The room was still bathed in the cold blue of under-cabinet lights. He stared at the phone one more time. Then typed his response. "Good luck." 2 words. He pressed send and closed the laptop with a quiet click. He reached for his phone again, not Dana's number this time. Jason. "Remember that contingency plan we talked about 5 years ago?" he asked when his brother answered. "It's time." Jason didn't hesitate. "You sure?" Leonard stood, his joints popping in the silent kitchen. She just made her move. He ended the call and walked to the living room, past the wedding photo still hanging by the hallway. The image caught his eye. Dana's wide smile, one hand on his chest, the other holding a champagne flute mid-toast. She looked triumphant. He looked hopeful. That was the only picture of them still on display. He returned to his laptop, this time opening an interface with a black and gray dashboard. No branding, no frills. It had taken him years to develop this. A financial management system with backdoor protocols, security redundancies, and tiered asset protection. He hovered his mouse over a button labeled Contingency Protocol. Enabled. The cursor blinked. He clicked. A cascade of actions began in the background. Joint accounts frozen, automated fraud flags dispatched to his contacts at the bank, digital locks on key financial documents. He'd even prepared templated divorce initiation papers, just needing a signature and timestamp. Years ago, after a quiet conversation with his father over a beer and a toolbox, he'd started laying these bricks. "Son, I notice your wife spends a lot of your money," his father had said, tapping in a nail. "Just make sure she values what you do to earn it." She never had. He stood up and took a deep breath, letting it settle in his lungs. The betrayal was real, but so was his preparation. Dana thought she'd cornered him. She had no idea she was playing checkers against a man who'd already built the chessboard. As the clock ticked toward midnight, Leonard walked into the bedroom. Her side of the closet was empty. She hadn't lied about moving his things. Only her designer yoga gear was gone. Her perfume still lingered in the air, a fading citrus and jasmine blend that once made his heart race. Now, it smelled like lies. He returned to the kitchen, the house colder now than it had ever been. But he felt lighter. She took the money, he thought, but I kept my future. He opened the hidden drawer in the pantry and retrieved a folder labeled Kesler Holdings. Inside were documents for 2 LLCs, a trust, and several crypto assets. none tied to their marital accounts. He poured the last of his stale coffee down the drain. Dana's betrayal wasn't an ambush. It was the final confirmation of a hypothesis he'd been testing for years. And now, it was time to follow through. Contingency Protocol. Enabled. 15 years of marriage ended with a text. But that wasn't the part that hurt. It was what she took that couldn't be replaced. The morning light in the condo was too bright. Clinical, sterile, unfeeling, linen spray, and silence. When your world collapses, you learn who you are. I wasn't the man she thought I was. Jason's house had always felt like the opposite of Leonard's. Cluttered, buzzing with energy. Screens glowing with code. Wires coiled like serpents across tables. It was where theory became action. And today, action was overdue. Leonard sat across from his younger brother at a long workbench. The faint hum of servers filled the room as Jason's fingers danced across two mechanical keyboards like a concert pianist in a cybernetic fugue. Multiple monitors flickered with bank records, digital breadcrumbs, and a cascade of numbers that most people would find indecipherable. "You good with this?" Jason asked without looking up. "We're pulling a lot." "She used my name to co-sign his debts. That's all the good I need," Leonard replied. Jason exhaled sharply and pointed at a screen. "There. Harmon Fit LLC. Looks like she used your shared assets on 3 separate accounts. Credit cards, a commercial lease, and, yep, a second expansion loan she didn't tell you about." Leonard leaned in. The numbers weren't just damning. They were brazen. "She's used our marriage as collateral for someone else's failing gym." "And the worst part?" Jason clicked through another series of files. "All the agreements list her marital status as married. That means your joint assets, your reputation, were used to guarantee loans. It's legal fraud if she didn't have your consent. We've got her dead to rights." Leonard's jaw tightened. He didn't need vengeance. He needed protection. From her recklessness. From her entitlement. From the illusion of the life they'd shared. He pulled out his phone and called his attorney. "It's time. Start the asset protection filings. Emergency status." "Understood," she replied. "Send everything your brother found. I'll get the paperwork ready for court first thing in the morning." After the call, Leonard sat in silence, watching Jason refine the file. Evidence compiled, cross-referenced, digitally time-stamped, ready to be weaponized. Dana wouldn't see it coming, but she'd feel it. Back at the condo, the place felt like a stage set after the final act. Too clean. Too perfect. Leonard walked through the rooms slowly, letting the silence burn away the memories. This wasn't his home anymore. It was a hollow replica of the life Dana had curated for their audience. Social media, friends, admirers. Not him. A soft knock startled him. Not the doorbell. This was softer, more deliberate. A familiar rhythm. Leonard opened the door to find Valerie standing there, phone in hand. "She's here." He didn't need to ask who. "She came to the office asking for you." Loudly. Then she waited in the lobby. Security asked if they should remove her. But Valerie trailed off. "Let her sit," Leonard said calmly. "I'll be in soon." He arrived at the office an hour later. Dana was exactly where he expected. Center of the lobby, poised like a wounded queen. Hair styled to casual perfection, yoga wear clinging just enough to draw attention. Her smile ignited the moment she saw him. "Leonard," she said, voice laced with rehearsed warmth. "Can we talk privately?" "We are talking," he replied, stepping past her toward the reception desk. "If you have something to say it here." She blinked, caught off guard by the tone. "There's been a mistake. The bank froze our accounts. I need to explain." "No mistake," he interrupted. "You siphoned money. You co-signed loans using marital assets without my consent. The banks did their job. Now I'm doing mine." Her smile wavered. "Leonard, I've always respected you." "You've respected what I provided," he said coldly. "Not who I am. You didn't even know who I was." People around the lobby pretended not to listen, but the tension was magnetic. Phones stilled. Keyboards paused. The confrontation was too personal to ignore, too sharp to look away. Dana stepped closer, her voice dropping. Look, I panicked. Things with Trey were moving fast, and I needed to make sure we were okay. Leonard held up a hand. Stop. You made your choices. Now you get to live with them. I deserve better than this, she snapped suddenly, eyes flashing. He tilted his head. You think this is punishment? You haven't even seen the bill yet. She stared at him for a long beat, the mask slipping further. You can't do this to me. You already did. Leonard receives a chilling email. You think you've won. You haven't seen anything yet. The subject line alone set Leonard's pulse ticking, but the contents of the email were even more revealing than the empty threat it contained. Anonymous address. No signature. Just those 12 words, typed in bold, black sans-serif letters like a challenge etched in steel. Beneath the text, a gif of a fuse burning, subtle, childish, dangerous. He didn't flinch. Instead, he stood, walked to the window of his office, and stared out at the gray canvas of downtown Des Moines. It had begun to rain, thin, needling drops that streaked across the glass like fingerprints fading in time. He knew the message wasn't a bluff. People only lash out like this when they realize they've already lost. He picked up his phone and called Jason. You have a moment? I do now. Something up? I just got threatened. Subtle, but it's there. Can you trace it? I'm on my way. Jason arrived within the hour. Backpack slung over one shoulder, energy drink in hand. Within minutes, Leonard's laptop was connected to a tablet, ports humming and data streaming across the screen. Definitely a burner account, Jason muttered. VPN reroute through Germany. But they made a mistake. One email bounce routed through a real IP before it hit the filter. Jason smirked. Guess who? Trey? Like he tattooed his own name on the bullet. Leonard nodded once, then opened the secure folder he'd been building. Emails, loan records, bank transactions, co-signed documents, digital trails. He'd thought it would be a file. Now it resembled a prosecution. By noon, Leonard sat across from his attorney in a private meeting room at Rothwell, Klein & Associates. A stack of folders rested between them, each one labeled and tabbed with almost surgical precision. The DA's office has officially opened a fraud case, she confirmed. Once we submitted the co-signed loan documents and proved he used your marital status as leverage, it tripped all the right wires. And the notarized signature? She smiled faintly. That was the nail. Leonard said nothing, but there was a flicker in his eyes. Regret? Number resignation. You should prepare yourself, she added. Things may escalate. People like Trey don't go quietly. Leonard nodded slowly. They only roar when they're falling. Later that evening, after everyone had left, Leonard lingered in the parking garage beneath his office building. The space echoed with the hollow resonance of tires on concrete and the drip of water somewhere near the far wall. He walked deliberately, keys in hand, coat buttoned, every step measured. He sensed her before he saw her. Dana stepped from the shadows between two pillars, her arms crossed, face pale under the artificial lights. She looked smaller than usual. No makeup, no staged grace, just eyes burning with a mixture of anger and panic. You're enjoying this, aren't you? She hissed. You've made it your mission to ruin us. I haven't made it my mission to ruin anyone, Leonard replied calmly. I've made it my mission to protect myself from fraud and manipulation. That seems fair. You froze everything. You humiliated me. Trey's business is collapsing. No, Leonard cut in. Trey's business was already collapsing. You just tied your fate to the wrong weight. She took a step closer. You're not this man. You never fought back. You just endured. You mistook my silence for weakness. Dana faltered, the weight of her choices cracking through her voice. I just wanted to be happy. Leonard reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a flash drive. He held it out to her, not with anger, but finality. What's that? Footage of you, at the notary's office, signing documents with my name on them. The camera's time-stamped. The signature isn't mine. Her hand shook slightly as she took it. You were recording me? I wasn't. The notary was. They're required to. She stared at the small device like it might burn her fingers. You kept this all along? I've kept a lot of things. She turned away, blinking rapidly. I didn't think you'd fight back. Leonard moved past her, stopping just short of his car. You didn't think I'd still be here. He drove away in silence, the sound of her breathing still hanging in the air behind him. The next morning, Jason burst into Leonard's office without knocking. He's gone. Leonard looked up from his laptop. What do you mean? Trey. Packed up overnight. Phone off, socials deleted. His lease was terminated at 6 a.m. Word is, he ran. Right before the federal investigators arrived. Leonard leaned back in his chair, exhaling slowly. So now, Jason said, voice low. It's just her. Leonard closed the laptop and said nothing. He didn't need to. The storm had broken, and the eye was moving closer. Trey goes missing the next morning, just as federal investigators seek him for questioning. The media picks up the story. Fitness power couple under fraud investigation. The headline spread like a spark catching dry grass. Every business blog, every local news ticker, every fitness gossip column. Dana's name had always floated in curated yoga circles and wellness retreats. Now it was plastered beside words like embezzlement, fraud, and co-conspirator. Leonard stared at the screen in a corner booth of his usual coffee shop, the place where no one ever asked more than, room for cream? But today, the barista paused longer, sneaking glances at the man behind the laptop with a half-pulled espresso. Leonard didn't acknowledge it. He simply stirred his black coffee, eyes tracking every line of the breaking news. Fitness power. Couple under fraud investigation. Dana Bowman and Trey Harmon, co-founders of Harmon Wellness, allegedly leveraged illegal co-signed loans, forged marital documents, and are now facing federal scrutiny. Sources suggest Leonard Kesler, a forensic accountant and Dana's estranged husband, is cooperating with authorities. He closed the browser. The story wasn't new to him. He'd lived it. The door chimed, and Jason slid into the booth across from him, breath fogging from the February air outside. They got him, he said without preamble. Leonard didn't ask who. He already knew. Where? Omaha. Pulled over on the interstate. Rental car in someone else's name. Fake ID in the glove box. Leonard gave a small nod, tapping the side of his coffee cup. And Dana? Still claiming she knew nothing about the forged documents. Her lawyer's drowning. DA has the notary footage, timestamps, signatures. Everything. Leonard leaned back, stretching the stiffness from his shoulders. She used to tell me I wouldn't survive without her. Jason gave a short laugh. She underestimated your hobby of building digital fortresses in your spare time. Outside the cafe window, a small crowd had started to gather. News vans parked haphazardly along the curb. Microphones and camera lenses peeked out like curious animals sniffing for a reaction. Jason caught it too. They followed you? I didn't exactly wear a disguise. The bell above the door jingled again. A reporter, young, suited, phone in one hand and mic in the other, hesitated, then approached the booth. Mr. Kesler, just a quick statement? Your response to the investigation? Leonard looked up. No venom, no ego, just clarity. I believe in justice, he said. Nothing more. No dramatics. No comment on betrayal. Just the truth. Later that afternoon, Leonard stood in the marble hallway of the Polk County Courthouse. Dana waited across the corridor with her attorney, eyes down, lips pressed into a hard line. Her face was pale, makeup too thick in places, not enough in others. For the first time, she didn't look curated. She looked real. Exhausted. Hollow. Their eyes met for a fleeting second before she turned away. Her attorney crossed over, documents in hand. Mr. Kesler, he said with practiced composure. Ms. Bowman is willing to settle. She'll relinquish all claims to the contested assets, accept responsibility for the loans in her name, and agree to a public statement of contrition. In return, she'd like to avoid formal criminal charges. Leonard didn't respond immediately. He watched Dana from across the hall, how she fidgeted, how her hands curled around the strap of her handbag like she was gripping the last piece of stability. "Let my attorney review it," he said. "We'll be in touch." He left without another glance. That evening, back at Jason's apartment, Leonard sifted through his inbox, dozens of messages flagged by keywords like legal, urgent, or media inquiry. He was halfway through sorting when a new subject line made him pause. From Jared L. Morrison. In the end, it wasn't the courtroom signatures or the frozen bank accounts that truly closed the chapter. It was the quiet resilience of a man who had been underestimated for too long. Betrayal may have taken him by surprise, but it did not find him unprepared. When injustice is met with quiet resolve and strategic patience, even the most elaborate deceptions unravel themselves. Like a slow-burning fuse, truth may take time, but when it ignites, it levels everything built on lies. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge is living free, on your terms, with nothing left to prove.